Senator Rubio, thank you for joining us this morning. I want to start out by asking you about this Iran report and their plans to increase uranium enrichment. How should we respond to this threat?
By continuing to do what we're doing now. Look, if Iran starts enriching, they violated the JCPOA, and Europe should get out of it, and everybody else who signed it should get out of it, because Iran will be violating the deal that they're all wanted us to stay in. Here's the bottom line, though. They're not going to be able to do that. I mean, they can be able to enrich, but ultimately the deal is working. It doesn't matter what these other countries do. There's no major company in Europe whose legal counsel is going to allow them to go into Iran and do work at the expense of not being able to have access to the U.S. economy. So this is all pyrotechnics. It's just them moving around, trying to pose and flex to look tough. But in the end, the deal's going to hurt them. I think you should anticipate you're probably going to see mass protests this summer in Iran. They're already facing a drought, and their economy's in bad shape. So they're in a bad spot right now.
And as we know, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he's kicking off this 3-day trip to persuade leaders of Germany, France, and the UK to stay in this deal. I just wonder, is this a warning shot from the supreme leader to Europe to stay in this deal?
Yeah, I mean, they want to force Europe to stay in the deal because they desperately need it. Even with the deal in place, Iran's economy was a disaster. But let's be clear about Europe and why they care about it. And they're our allies and our partners, and so they have their constituencies. But the reason why they care about the deal has nothing to do with diplomacy. It's because they have these major companies in Germany and throughout Europe that are desperate to get market share and do a little bit of work in Iran. That's what this is all about. But for us, it's about national security and about protecting this country and our allies. And it's all going to work out fine. In the end, Iran will be back at the table because their economy is collapsing, and the U.S. pulling out of the JCPOA is only going to make it worse for them.
Meanwhile, Senator Rubio, this June 12th summit in Singapore is quickly approaching, where the president will sit down with Kim Jong-un. There are high expectations for this meeting. What are your thoughts heading into this?
Well, there shouldn't be high expectations, because I don't think you're going to have them emerge after 24 hours and say we have a deal and we've struck a deal, because if they do, it'll be a bad one. My sense is that it'll be the beginning of a process. My prediction is that at some point during this process, if I were the North Koreans, I'd want to extend this. I would imagine China is probably trying to finagle its way into it. So I think you should anticipate that at some point down the road, this will turn into a China, U.S., South Korea, North Korea talks. This will take, to have a good deal with North Korea is going to take a little bit of time. I think the important thing for us is we should not be lifting any sanctions or providing any relief until we see a clear path forward on complete and irreversible denuclearization and getting rid of the missiles. But that may take a while. That's not going to happen in one meeting. So I think everybody needs to understand that.
All right. We'll keep watching that. Meanwhile, something near and dear to your heart, immigration and our focused efforts there. There are questions about these 1,475 immigrant children that the U.S. government has been unable to keep track of or contact since they were released to sponsors back in 2017. There's questions about where they are. Health and Human Services told a Senate committee that they made follow-up calls to check on these nearly 1,500 children, and they have gone unreturned. What are your thoughts on that?
But that's not unusual. Look, sometimes you're calling people that themselves may be illegally in the country, and people change their phone numbers. They don't call numbers they don't understand. So this whole thing is a very sad situation. No one wants to see what's happening right now. But people have to understand that under the current law, the administration only has two choices. Choice number one is they have to release these parents and their children. You'll never hear from most of them again. Choice number two is what they're doing right now. Here's the better thing. Here's the better solution. For everyone, including these migrants who I know are desperate in trying to flee these situations, let's help the countries they're coming from make life better there. And also, let's make clear that if you get to the United States, you're not going to be allowed to cross, and if you cross, you're going to be returned, so that we can discourage people from doing that. What's really inhumane here is the fact that people can cross the border is serving as a magnet. It is attracting people to take that very dangerous journey. And that we don't want, that's not good for anybody. It's not good for America. It's not good for these poor people. And I think that's the important point here is let's do what we can to prevent them having to leave, but let's make clear to them and to everyone that you're not going to be able to enter, because that will discourage people from taking this very dangerous and inhumane journey that puts their children and themselves in danger.
Well, DHS has certainly come under a lot of scrutiny. The White House has called it horrible, the separation that happens at the U.S. border between these family and these children. Meanwhile, I want to ask you about this footage, and and we've got it here to show. It was uploaded to Facebook late Sunday, and it's been seen by over 1 million viewers, probably much more than that by this moment. It shows Senator Jeff Merkley, a Democrat from Oregon, approaching the Office of Refugee Resettlement Facility in Brownsville, Texas, after saying that the government's treatment of children illegally entering the U.S. was unacceptable. He said that he was not able to let in. The government has responded. Federal officials said that they took extra steps even to grant him access to one of these facilities on Sunday. But he recorded this, said his efforts were unsuccessful, and the White House is responding, calling him reckless, and says he's spreading blatant lies in this failed attempt to enter the Immigration Detention Center. I just wanted to get your response to that.
Well, I wasn't there. I haven't talked to him, and I don't know what all happened. I would just say two things about it. Number one is if a member of Congress wants to see what's happening in a facility because we have oversight over the money that's being spent, they should be allowed to do so, and there's a process for doing that. These are human beings. This is not a field trip. It's not a zoo where you can go and look at people. And these people deserve some level of dignity, not a bunch of people just showing up to look at them. Number two, those officials have a duty to keep them safe. You can't just have somebody show up at the door. So there's a way to do that if they want to see what's happening. I do think this. Okay, while what's happening there is ridiculous and what's happening there is very sad in terms of what these people are going through, the flip side of it is any notion that the U.S. is mistreating people is absurd. Okay, we know that when people come here, they're not going to be in ideal conditions because, frankly, we don't have the perfect facilities for this. But they will be fed, they will receive medical care, they will be taken care of. No one's being abused. But this is not ideal. I mean, we don't have a system set up to handle this, which is why the best thing is to prevent this. People should not try to come here illegally with their minor children because it's not good for them, it's not good for us, it's not good for anybody except human traffickers and the people that are taking advantage of them.
Senator Marco Rubio, great to have you on the program this morning on a busy week in Washington. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.